So the birth of the Korean blockbuster on 71, and this is talking about Shiri, Paquette points out, here perhaps was the sort of product, a commodity, right? Not a piece of art, but a product envisioned by Kim Young-sam after hearing the Jurassic Park Hyundai Cars presentation in 1994. The Hyundai Park, Paquette mentions this, but the Hyundai Cars presentation is the president has an advisor tell him that Jurassic Park made more money in a year than an entire year's worth of Hyundai car exports. And so this is kind of understood as a sort of mythic moment in Korean cinema, in that the government started taking interest and started pumping money into the industry. Why? Not because they're invested in art, not because they're invested in the culture of the country, but because they know that they can make money off of it and treat it like a commodity. So this is why these are the sort of things that most people don't read and don't care and don't think about, right? They don't think about trade, they don't think about export, they don't think about national industry and national interest. They only think about what we can see on our end, which is the film, and we think about, wow, this makes me happy, this inspires me. It's like, yeah, there's all sorts of other shit going on, you know, again, to go back to the Kiarostami, beyond the frame, right? And we have to be aware of these things. If we're as thinking and as critical thinkers as we constantly say we are, then we have to actually do the thinking, right? Okay, so Paquette points out that Shiri was a cultural event, and it really was, I remember, both in form and content, you know, like the first kind of Korean blockbuster. And then he points out, he brings up Julian Stringer just to point out like the way that blockbuster can have a different valence in a Korean context or an Iranian context, right? That what's a blockbuster here is not going to be a blockbuster there or there, here, etc., etc. Even what's a blockbuster in the US has changed, right? On 74, he says, Julian Stringer describes the word blockbuster as a moving target. Its meaning is never fixed or clear, but changes according to who is speaking and what is being said. So it's similar. Anything is really a moving target. Go to a political rally. Like what you understand as, let's say, freedom or liberty is not going to be the same as what another person thinks. What America means, what rights means, like these things are not stable, which is why we're constantly fighting and negotiating them. And not just, again, just to kind of emphasize, as a general practice, that these things are never fixed, right? So you have to be constantly, be able and willing to kind of precisely determine what exactly you mean when you say something. To have that kind of weight and responsibility as a thinker is really what I'm trying to insist on. So let's go ahead and round out into the final portion, government support and film investment funds. So the Korea Film Council, established during Kim Dae-jung's presidency, I believe, and Korea spending, according to Paquette, at least in this period, probably still, the most on cinema in Asia. From 1998 to the end of 2005, the film industry witnessed the launch of 48 funds worth a combined $535 million. I mean, in the long scheme of things, that's not a terrible lot, but I guess I would be interested in the numbers of how much government support there is for American cinema. Although thinking about something like tax breaks, right, especially in a place like Georgia, Tennessee is trying to do similar things, like in Nashville, set up like a film industry. Finally, on 82, CI252, which is a film magazine, so again speaks to kind of like a broader Korean film culture in the country, right? A film literacy of people reading, like a dedicated magazine, there are a few. But that this is on page 82, kind of designated that there are three types of Korean cinema films in the 21st century, which are the producer-oriented projects, the high-concept comedies with catchy premises and B-listers. And again, think about it this way. CI252 is talking really about how producers see films. And there are a number of films about films that would give you a sense of this. Again, I brought up The Player before. But we talk about like their melodrama, there's action that's different from comedy, and even all action films aren't the same. For producers, that like Cine21 is making the argument that there's only 3 types. When a producer says, pitch me a film, am I going to make this, am I going to give you money, he only wants to know if it's one of the 3. He doesn't care if it's action or science fiction, he just wants to know, tell me which type it is, because what does it really come down to? The 3 types come down to budget. Like, what's the cost, the price point. The second are director-oriented projects. So these would be like the artsy ones, well-developed screenplays and autorial style, and then finally, the Korean blockbuster. Okay, so that was your introduction to Korean cinema. Just like last week, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move on directly into the next reading, to Steve's reading. And like last week, I'm just going to go ahead and upload it so that you have it all at once and can get to it when you want. But more in a second. I need a break.